let's go ahead and switch over to my face. Here we go. We are live for episode 27. And oh, what an episode it is. Because yesterday, the greatest thing that could happen in boxing in terms of things that we are waiting for, or actually, the second greatest thing that could happen in boxing in terms of things that we are waiting for is that Canelo has signed to the PBC. And for that, we need to start the show off with a let's get ready to rumble. But first, I got to always say thank you so much, Hashim, coming in strong. First person to comment. My man is quick to the draw. Let's go, champ. Thank you so much. Now let's start with a Michael Buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Canelo did more. He did more than what I expected him to do. He shocked me. Hold on. Let me pull this up. Let me pull this up real quick. We got Nath here. What's going on, brother? What's up? We got Gridley98, Premier Boxing Champions. Championship. Yes. Canelo did more than what I expected him to do. Because what does a 3-fight deal mean? Seriously. What does it mean for Canelo Alvarez to do a 3-fight deal? Now, just for any of the naysayers out there that maybe think that he didn't say that and he wouldn't say that he's going to do that, even though it's obviously been publicized everywhere. Let's go ahead and take a look. Switch the picture-in-picture real quick. From the horse's mouth. Done deal. See you soon. September 2023, which is going to be his first fight with the PBC. And not his last. Premier Boxing Champions. 3-fight deal is confirmed that the negotiation with PBC is not for one fight, as he's had negotiations with PBC before. He did the Caleb Plant fight, which was in conjunction with the PBC. But this time, this is a 3-fight deal, which means more than likely Showtime pay-per-view. We're going to see Canelo on there. Now, the deal is actually massive. It is a $100 million deal, 3-fight deal. That's insane. That means that this is, by the way, this playbook is not new. Steven Espinoza has he's kind of pioneered this kind of style, right? It was because of Steven Espinoza and his strategy with marketing and capturing talent that Showtime was able to eclipse HBO. Because for a long time, Showtime, and guys, we know, Premier Boxing Champion and Showtime, it comes as one package. It's almost one and the same. Showtime Boxing and PBC. Granted, PBC sometimes, they're not, they're on PBC pay-per-view, but really, PBC and Showtime has become basically one entity, almost, right? They work very close together. He's pioneered this style. Get people for a specific amount of fights and pay them an incredible guarantee, so there isn't a reason for them not to get into the deal. If it's financially, you take that off the table. If they're worried about money or they want to know where their money's going to come or they don't understand, you take it off the table by providing a $100 million offer. This is similar to what Mayweather was offered when he went to Showtime. Because remember, before Mayweather went to Showtime, he was fighting in the PBC. Not the PBC, I'm sorry. He was fighting in HBO. And then they gave him a 6-fight deal with Showtime. And he went over to Showtime, and it was another kind of like $100 million kind of package deal that they put together for Floyd Mayweather. So Steven Espinoza is kind of the pioneer of this kind of style. Since he's done it, a lot of other people have done it. But he's here in true fashion, doing it where it counts, because you bring Canelo over to the PBC. The Benavidez fight, in my humble opinion, is inevitable. All right, let's go ahead and switch over.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we still got this man over here. Hold on. Let's get ready to rumble. Forgot to turn that off, but it's all good because we love Michael Buffer. All right, hold on one second. Let's see what you guys are saying. What you reckon the 3 fights will be? I'm going to tell you soon. Let me just go through this real quick. Poe in the house. Love to see you in here, brother. Thank you for showing up, man. And then we got Nath here saying, does he only have 3 fights left? And then that's the end? I don't think so. I mean, who else will he fight? He does deals like this. Like, he's done deals with DAZN. He done 1-fight deals with PBC. So it's not one of those things where, just because he signed a 3-fight deal, it means that he only has 3 more fights left. I don't think that that's the case. But he's done this before. So him doing this doesn't mean that in and of itself, just because he did a 3-fight deal, doesn't mean that those are his last 3 fights. But can it be? It's possible. He might feel that what else is there for him to do, right? Especially if he fights the people that I think he's going to fight for these 3 fights. Let's see here. Chris Ada, Canelo is reminding everybody he's still the face of boxing. Yes. Canelo never ducked Triple G when he was the real monster at that time. True, although I do feel that Gennady won the fight, but still it doesn't take away from the merit that he took on the fight at that time. Why would he duck Benavidez? I never understood that, but it's just hate. No, there are people that truly felt that he was ducking Benavidez. Now, I'm the type of person that I like to look at what people do, not what people say. And for a while there, for a little bit of time there, every move that was coming out of the internal talks between Canelo and who he was fighting next was giving me pause on if Canelo truly wanted to fight Benavidez or if he was stalling on fighting Benavidez. Now, I didn't know why, because I always thought that Canelo has the confidence to fight Benavidez and he should fight Benavidez, and it makes more sense for him because that's the most profitable fight, the most money-generating fight that he could do. So I never understood why, but it did feel that he was clearly not focusing on a Benavidez fight. He didn't respond to the $50 million offer that was offered to him, a guaranteed, not even including purse splits, which he would probably get the lion's share of. It didn't include that, but they gave him a $50 million offer. On top of that, he was going after Bivol. Bivol didn't want the fight. That fight fell through. He didn't go right to Benavidez after the Bivol fight, which I thought he was going to do. If you look at my live streams from the past, I'm like, hey, look, the Bivol fight fell through. The Benavidez fight is automatic. No, it wasn't. He went on to try to negotiate or talk, or started to fan the flames of a him versus Badu Jack fight. And the only thing that merited that fight was maybe he wanted to dominate in cruiserweight. But reports started coming out that he wanted Badu Jack to go down 20 pounds. So really it wouldn't be at cruiserweight, but it would be considered a catchweight. So the cruiserweight title would be on the line. And it was like, then why? Then why do that? And then once Badu Jack got out of the way, what came to the forefront? Not Benavidez yet, still. It was Jermall Charlo. Jermall, who has not fought since the summer 2 years ago. Since July was his last fight. So, in my opinion, I think they showed a graphic that in the last 2 years, Canelo has had 6 fights. In the last 2 years, Jermall Charlo has had 1 fight. Just 1. So, in my mind, I couldn't understand why Canelo was picking all these guys other than Benavidez when he's not going to make more money with Bivol than Benavidez. He's not going to make more money with Badu Jack than Benavidez. He's not going to make more money with Jamal Charlo over Benavidez. And if he wanted to solidify his position as the face of boxing, he needed to fight Benavidez. And nothing that he did showed me that he was doing that. So I do understand that there were haters that jumped on that and they were clowning him and all that stuff. I get that. I get that was the, and they're just looking to even, I'm sure, I haven't seen anything of what they said, but I'm sure that they're saying things now, even though he picked these, he did this 3-fight deal. But to me, I've always been true to the notion that I look at what people do, not what they say. Him signing a 3-fight deal with the PBC just means to me that Canelo wants all the smoke. He wants all the smoke. The money was right, and he wants all the smoke. Because who are the 3 people that he is going to fight in the PBC? It's slim pickings if you're thinking about a Canelo potential fight. It's not much. It's not many people out there that he could look towards to choose from. It's a very small list that you could line up for a Canelo fight. It's very short, very small. In my opinion, this almost makes the Benavidez fight inevitable. Him signing with the PBC makes this fight inevitable. It's almost like when Devin Haney signed with Top Rank. The Lomachenko fight was right around the corner the moment he did a 3-fight deal. Get the rematch out of the way, and the Lomachenko fight was right there. YouTube Boxing 6007. Yo, what's going on, brother? I think it'll be Charlo, Benavidez, and Andre. Okay, all right. That's actually how I have it. Wait, is Andre with DAZN or PBC? I forgot. He was with DAZN, but he moved on to the PBC. He's then since moved on to the PBC. Andre last fought with DAZN. Yes. No. His last fight was on the last fight he had was on PBC. The last fight he had was on PBC, with the PBC. Chris Sater, that makes sense. No. The last fight he had was with the PBC. Do you think Canelo's defense was a bit lacking against Ryder? It looked to me that Canelo was just not respecting Ryder, so he didn't need to do any fancy movement. Now, one thing that we do need to understand is sometimes, for some boxers, there's a lack of interest in the fight that they're in. It can happen. They feel that the person is not that big of a deal, that the person is somewhat beneath them, and then there's a lackadaisical approach to that person, and then that person is a little bit better than you expected, and then they kind of thwart a few things that you're doing, like John Ryder was doing with the uppercuts on the inside, kind of, affecting Canelo Alvarez with that when he was trying to set up combinations or set up his offense from his defense. Hold on, we got Adrian Dones with a $10 super chat, so we gotta do the $10 celebration. Of course, you already know. $10 super chat by Adrian Dones. One more time. Hey, ref, get him out of there, ref. No, he can't do that. All right, hold on. What he said? Do you think the big UFC fight July 29th will hurt the pay-per-view numbers for Spence versus Bud? No. What's going to happen is even people that are watching the UFC at the UFC event, working the event, will be watching the Errol Spence versus Bud Crawford fight. It's that big. I remember there was an event that was happening, and Dana White had a monitor in front of him, and he was watching the boxing pay-per-view event. I think it was Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. I could be wrong of what the event was, but there was an image captured at one point where they were watching on their monitors the boxing fight. On their professional monitors that they were using for the fights that they were having, they were watching boxing. I think boxing, when it is at its peak, it always supersedes the UFC. Now, the UFC is more consistent than boxing. But for example, if Mayweather had a main event pay-per-view, right, that's going to thwart anything that the UFC could do. That's going to thwart anything that the UFC can do. But the UFC just has a consistent, like non-relenting, non-stop pace of constant good fights, while with boxing, we get them once in a blue moon. But when they come, they're the biggest combat sports thing that anybody could talk about. So I think it's not going to hurt the numbers at all. I think people are going to be getting both of them. It's not so much. There's not as much. I don't think that there's that much of a siphoning that's coming from the UFC as people think. I think there's a lot of casual fans that would much rather watch a big fight than they would just watch a UFC fight. That's what I think, but I could be wrong. But usually this has been the case. Big boxing fights usually trump UFC cards when they're big like this. But thank you again for the $10 super chat. We love to see it. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. All right. Sorry. My fault. I meant to say PBC. I forgot he signed with the PBC. Yes, he has signed already with the PBC. Adrian Dones, I doubt it, to be honest. They're both going to be good. Yes. Sup, bro? How you doing? Anthony Murchison, what's going on, brother? YouTube Boxing 6007 says Dana White was watching Plant. There you go. Plant versus Canelo at Usman versus Covington. You see what I'm talking about? They don't even, you know what I'm saying? They're in their own event. They don't even want to watch their own event that they host that's live right in front of them over a boxing pay-per-view main event that's a big deal. You know what I mean? That's how boxing is. When it comes to boxing is the biggest thing. It's like the mecca of combat sports. UFC is good. It's consistent. It's very consistent. But when boxing is at its peak, it's real hard to beat it. That's why Conor McGregor was a megastar when he fought in the UFC. But when he crossed over to fight Mayweather, he became an ultra star, a super mega duper ultra star, and they ended up doing numbers, pay-per-view numbers that he was never even close to. So it was Canelo versus Plant. There you go. We got it. Thank you very much, Fabrizio Pauletti. And that's no disrespect to the UFC. It's just that boxing has been around for so much longer. Yeah. UFC is relatively new sport. It's actually remarkable how well they're doing now for how young they are. Very young in comparison. I think the UFC was birthed sometime in the early 2000s or the late 90s. So it's very, very young, while boxing is like hundreds of years old. All right. Thank you, Al Heyman. Hey, thank you, Al Heyman. Thank you, Steven Espinosa, Showtime, the PBC team, everybody. They did what they needed to do because they know the fights that are going to come out of a Canelo signing. And Canelo, more importantly, Canelo knows the fights that are going to come from a PBC 3-fight deal signing. He knows he's fighting Benavidez because who else is he going to fight? Within 3 people, within the PBC, in and around his weight class, that isn't Benavidez. You can't find them. You can't find 3 that's not Benavidez, that one of them isn't Benavidez. PBC carrying boxing right now. That might be the case. I mean, they hosted the Tank versus Ryan fight, although it was in collaboration with the DAZN. But they've hosted that fight, and that fight was 1.2 million. They also did the Caleb Plant versus Canelo, and that was Canelo's best pay-per-view numbers. So they're doing really good with the promotion element of getting that fight out there so people know that the fight is happening. They're pretty good at promoting these fights. I think that they're slowly but surely creeping up to the top as probably the head honchos. I think they're competing a little bit with Top Rank, but I think in terms of talent pool, Top Rank and PBC is kind of close, but I think in terms of marketing and putting out a product that they get eyeballs on with over 800,000 something pay-per-view buys with Caleb Plant and then 1.2 million with Tank versus Ryan, they know what they're doing with their marketing. They're doing something really, really good that's working. that's working. So Canelo went to a really good spot. Is gonna, I don't know, man. He might cross that 1.2 million behind that marketing machine of Showtime and the PBC, and we get that Benavidez fight. So now I'm gonna go ahead and say how I think the fights will line up. This is what I think is going to happen. It is going to be Canelo versus Jamal Charlo. Now, I didn't want Canelo to fight Jamal Charlo next. In a vacuum, I did not want that to happen because it doesn't let me feel confident that there will be a Benavidez fight. On the contrary, what it does is it makes me think that there is no Benavidez fight, because why not pick Benavidez next? What's the pause? There's no guarantee later down the line that you'll get a Benavidez fight that could happen if you're not picking him now when the melting pot is hot, right? But if he's signing a 3-fight deal with the PBC, that gives me so much more comfort. It gives me so much. I could sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Because I know for a fact that after he fights Jamal Charlo, he has 2 more fights down the line. And if Jamal Charlo, by some miracle, because let's be honest, he's going to lose, but by some miracle he wins, because this is boxing, anything could happen. The inactive 2-year Charlo beats Canelo. Canelo has an ability to rematch Charlo. And if he rematches Jamal Charlo, and beats him, that 3rd fight would be with Benavidez. So 3 fight makes perfect sense. 2 fights makes no sense. 3 fights makes a perfect sense if they're strategizing to push him into that Canelo versus Benavidez fight. 3 fights is perfect. If anything was to happen in between going to Benavidez, he has or anything was to happen before he gets to Benavidez, he has a rematch clause. He could clean up, then fight Benavidez. And then let's say the more likely scenario happens. He has a rematch clause probably set with Benavidez, because in my opinion, after he fights Jamal Charlo to get his 1 fight in, because he got to do 3 fights, right? So you got to fight Jamal Charlo now, because he has to appease 3 fights. So he's going to fight Jamal Charlo just to start it, dip his feet in the water, get a Jamal Charlo fight, and after that, he's going to fight Benavidez. I don't think he's going to fight anybody else other than Benavidez second, because I think he wants the potential possibility of a rematch, if needed, to be in September of 2024. So he needs at least to have Benavidez within that rematch clause, unless it gets negated by Jamal Charlo winning that fight, and he would have to rematch Jamal Charlo, which I don't think is going to happen, because even if you want to look at the politics of boxing and he's going to the PBC, they might, pay a judge here, pay a judge there, or whatever. Even if that's the case, which I don't really buy into those conspiracy theories, but even if that was the case, financially, it still makes more sense for the PBC to have Canelo Alvarez beat Jamal Charlo. It still makes more sense financially for the PBC to have Canelo Alvarez beat Jamal Charlo and then have a super fight against Benavidez. So my opinion is he's going to fight Jamal Charlo. Everything's going to be against Jamal Charlo. The judges themselves are going to be leaning towards Canelo Alvarez, because they know that there's this big money fight coming in. So he's going to have to decisively win all of these different rounds, while Canelo could kind of edge them out and he might get the nod still. And then we get the Benavidez fight in May. May is going to be fire. And then after that, he probably either ends it with Demetrius Andrade or some other fighter. I think the only one that makes the most sense to me is Demetrius Andrade as his 3rd fight. That, to me, that's the one that makes sense. As Demetrius Andrade, that's been a thing where he's been constantly calling them out. The PBC could be like, look, Demetrius, something that you've been trying to do with all these promoters, we were able to pull it off for you. We got you that Canelo fight, and he'll be the closeout fight. The same way Berto was Mayweather's closeout fight. He didn't have anything spectacular for that last fight because the true fight that everybody wanted had already happened in May when Floyd Mayweather fought Manny Pacquiao that year, 2015. And he closed out his 6-fight deal with Berto just as a closeout. And I think Canelo's going to do a closeout with Demetrius Andrade if he beats Benavidez. But if he doesn't beat Benavidez in May, that third fight allows Canelo to get a rematch with Benavidez. This is why a 3-fight deal, it just shows that Canelo wants all the smoke. Of course, he wants like a contingency plan in case he loses, but it means that he's giving us the fight. And I don't care if he has a rematch clause or not. The fact that he's giving us the fight is everything to me. That's everything that I care about, and that's what he's doing. So kudos to Canelo. I really thought he was going down the path of not wanting to fight Benavidez. Like I said, we never know. Boxing is so political. We never know what's going on behind closed doors. These deals were being made. I had a sneaking suspicion because when they were interviewing Steven Espinoza, he was talking really highly of Canelo. He's like, hey, you know, he's getting all the offers. He needs to do what makes sense for him. And I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here? What's happening with you and Canelo Espinosa? Why are you talking like that? It made me feel like he was a little like, you know, he had this like an endearing energy towards Canelo. And then a few days later, we get the announcement that Canelo signed a 3-fight deal. Absolutely amazing, but 3 fights makes perfect sense. I think it's going to be Charlo first. Now, I'm not even mad at the Charlo fight. It's still kind of dumb, but it don't bother me because I know for a fact he got 2 more fights in the pipe. Then it's going to be Benavidez, and then it's going to be Andre, if in fact none of these fights, he loses any of these fights. So I think he has like a rematch clause pending in the event that he loses any of those fights, and then he's going to have something that he might feel easier to close out, which will be Demetrius Andre, because there'll be less risk in his mind with Demetrius Andre if he fights him. And then he would have already done the super fight. So even if you guys are thinking, oh, so if Demetrius Andre to him mentally is easier than Jamal Charlo, why not fight Jamal Charlo, Demetrius Andre first, and then Jamal Charlo last? But Jamal Charlo is actually probably easier in his mind than Demetrius Andre. So it's safer to protect the super fight to fight Jamal Charlo first, just to get that out the way, then Benavidez, and then close it out. Benavidez being the most dangerous of the two, so that it's in the middle. He got that rematch clause. In the event that something happens, he got that extra fight. If he beats him, then he'll feel even more confident going into the Demetrius Andre fight. If he loses to Demetrius Andre, is not that catastrophic because he was already he already had the fight with Benavidez, if that makes sense. That's why the 3-fight deal is actually perfectly structured for Canelo to fight Benavidez. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Conor has done over 2 million buys once in the UFC. Mayweather versus Conor did 4.3 million. Yeah, he doubled. And I think the 2 million buys was like the highest he ever did, right? YouTube Boxing 6,007. That was like the highest he ever did. Guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We got a bunch of you guys in here. We only got 6 likes. Please hit the like button, guys. We're going to put Michael Buffer on here so you guys can hit the like button. Let him tell you how to do it. Let's get ready to rumble.
Gentlemen.
I want to see the like buttons go up, guys. I want to see the like buttons go up. I'm gonna look at the questions now, but please, let's get these likes up, please. Let's go one more time, Mike.
Ladies
one more
and
time.
gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble.
If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button. Thank you, guys. All right, let's see. Early 90s, actually, bro. Okay, early 90s. Okay, my fault. Early 90s. 1993, after UFC was founded, but Dana White bought it in 2001. Yes, Dana White bought it. WB Pride. How long Pride been around? Pride been around for a good amount of time, but Pride was really only popular in Japan. It was popular in Japan. I actually like Pride. Not like I was a super fan, but I would watch it on my computer, I would watch Fedor Emelianenko. That was one of my favorite guys to watch from Pride. His fights with like Mercury Krokop and them guys, it was pretty crazy, man. It was pretty crazy. I actually enjoyed watching it. It was actually like almost like watching a movie. I mean, I remember he was fighting this super tall Asian dude, and he somehow beat him. He made him like tap. It was actually insane. And I remember one time they put him into like a Kimura, and he ain't tap. I'm like, how are you not tapping? How does that not hurt? I don't know. He was a beast back then. He fell off, but there was a time where Fedor Emelianenko was like, he was the guy. All right, Top Rank and DAZN screwing themselves by being too heavy promotions. Well, I mean, we got to see what happens, man. We got to look at the future. Remember, DAZN was in part with this PBC. They came together to do the Tank versus Ryan fight. So DAZN was part of that, right? Ryan Garcia was with DAZN, and they made that fight happen. Two different promotional companies came together to make that fight happen. You got to give them kudos for doing that. Fulton versus Inoue. Oh, that's going to be amazing. I can't wait. And we're going to get that right before we get the Spence versus Crawford fight. Benavidez versus Plant. Yes, that was the fight that we were talking about. Plant versus Canelo did 800K buys at $80. That's crazy for a fight against a relatively unknown Plant at the time. Yeah. For casuals, this is why I say that when people look at me sideways and I'm like, yo, Canelo could do close to $1 million with Benavidez. People are like, nah, bro, $1 million, that's like the mythical number. Like nobody get there no more. But if he was able to do 800,000 with Plant, you gonna tell me that more casuals know Plant than they do Benavidez? I think that was infused and fueled by a lot of obviously social media and everything, the hardcore boxing, because there also is a level of respect that the hardcore boxing fans give you when you're actually giving us that fight that we want, right? So we radiate that out, and it kind of bleeds out a little bit to the casual market, and then they look over and say, oh, okay, maybe I'll take a look at this, right? With Tank versus Ryan, it was just that they were already in the casual market, right? But with that Canelo, you could see it. Canelo's fighting these regular dudes, and it's like, okay, maybe I'll watch, maybe I won't, whatever. He's not getting these crazy numbers, but then he fights Caleb Plant, which is a legitimate fight, and then he gets 800,000. Obviously, I don't think that was all from the hardcore boxing fans. But I think that when there is a real good fight, there is some sort of a energy that radiates out through the internet, through social media, through water cooler talk. And then the casuals, they don't know what to watch or what not to watch or what to, you know what I'm saying? And hardcore boxing fans all over the United States or the world, whatever, they're setting up fight parties. So people are kind of interested. What fight is this? And it kind of boils over. The water spills over a little bit, and we could get something like an 800,000 buys with Caleb Plant. I think that Benavidez is in a better position with casual fans than Caleb Plant was when Canelo fought Caleb Plant. So if that's the case, and Canelo's in the same promotional place that put that together and was able to market that well, I think that Canelo versus Benavidez can get to, or close to, or even, shall I say, surpass slightly the 1 million, the mythical 1 million pay-per-view buy number. I truly believe that could happen. I truly believe that could happen. So people looking at me sideways saying that it's crazy, and now look at us. Now look where we at. I think this is 100% possible. PBC put on bigger shows than Top Rank. They put on the biggest show. We can't take that away from the PBC. They put on the biggest show. Tank versus Ryan Garcia. Granted, it was in conjunction with DAZN, but they had a little bit of more control. As you can see, everything was kind of Showtime, and PBC was being promoted more than the DAZN. So you can see that they had a little bit more of the control of that promotion, but it was in conjunction with DAZN. But that is still the highest. Like, it was 1.2 million pay-per-views that were sold for that fight. And then, of course, yeah, Spence versus Crawford is the next fight that they're doing, which is the biggest fight possible that could be made in boxing, and they're the ones that made it. So we got to take our hats off to PBC and Showtime. This is one of the best years in boxing that I can ever remember. This is, I've said this before. I mean, if Canelo chooses Benavidez first, which is a possibility if he's not even thinking of fighting Andre, if he just wants a Benavidez fight and a possible rematch right away, that's a possibility. It's not impossible for him to fight Benavidez first. He can do that, right? That can be a thing. If he chooses to fight Benavidez first, then this is, without a shadow of a doubt, the best year. You can't even argue this is the best year in modern boxing history. I don't want to hear that the Mayweather Manny Pacquiao year of 2015, that year cannot be held up by one fight. One fight cannot hold up that year to make it the best boxing year in modern boxing history. No, this year will be crazy. We got Tank Ryan. We got Devin Haney, Lomachenko. We got Inoue Fulton. We got Spence Crawford. We got Canelo Benavidez. That's too many things. We got Sonny Edwards versus Bam Rodriguez. That was just signed. That fight was just signed. Can y'all believe that? So we got Sonny versus Bam Rodriguez. All the top guys in the divisions are fighting each other right now. Canelo's gonna fight Benavidez. And if he does it this year, my goodness, you just blow this year out of the water. Like it blows every other year out of the water. Easily. In terms of matchmaking and amounts of fights that we are getting. Hold on. I got to catch up. Wait, whoa. We still might get Wilder versus Joshua. That's a possibility. If the December whole extravaganza happens, my goodness. Then we'll get the Tyson versus Usyk. If Tyson finally, agrees to fight Usyk. And then we'll also get what's the fight? Wilder versus Joshua. And possibly on the same card in Saudi Arabia. Say less. This would be the best year. Like, there would not be an argument to this year being the best year. There wouldn't even be an argument. All right, let me pull this up. Let's see. Yeah, Charlo could ruin it all. It is possible because boxing is boxing and anything can happen, right? We were supposed to get Mike Tyson versus Holyfield. Everybody was like, oh, he's going to fight Buster Douglas. But once he's done with that, we're going to get, bam, knocked out, beat by Buster Douglas, and it was over, right? Like the myth of Mike Tyson, it diminished. Although the fight still did good numbers, especially the second one, but the myth of it, like the whole, the pull, the energy behind it was diminished greatly. So anything could happen. Inside the square circle with King Judah, PBC continues to make the biggest fights in boxing. I do agree with you. In this instance, I 100% agree with you. They are doing the best. They are putting the best. Spence versus Crawford is undeniably the best fight that you can make in boxing, period. Bar none. And then now they're getting Canelo for 3 fights. That's going to be insane. We're gonna get Canelo in the All Access episodes, which is like award-winning best boxing documentaries leading up to the fight. Especially then the epilogue. It's like rewatching the fight with a different flavor. It's beautiful. Canelo has looked trash in his last 3 fights. Charlo may beat him. Even if he looked trash, I don't think he's going to beat him. This is like saying, this is one of the things that I think when it comes to fighters who has accomplished things, right? Sometimes there's a lackluster like energy going into a fight when you've already accomplished other fights or you fought people that are of better caliber. You kind of go in there, you kind of fall asleep a little bit. That's the same thing. A perfect example is Teofimo Lopez. I didn't think Teofimo Lopez was going to win against Josh Taylor. And I based it off of his performance with what's that dude's name? Kambosos, and his performance against Sandor Martin. I'm like, man, this dude ain't the same no more. That umph isn't there. But then he got in the ring with somebody that made him feel like this was a real fight, that he was going to get some accolades off of this win. And he looked like Roy Jones Jr., the closest to Roy Jones Jr. that I've seen since Roy Jones at the highest level. I'm sure there's people that look like Roy Jones. Like people want to say Jerron Boots Ennis looks like Roy Jones. That's fine. You can look like Roy Jones, but can you look like Roy Jones when you fighting somebody who was just undisputed at 140? That's not easy to do. So looking at Teofimo Lopez could dispel that notion that, oh, just because somebody, if Canelo is fighting a Benavidez, like when Canelo is fighting a Caleb Plant, he probably brings all of that energy in there. He probably brings all of that energy in there, and he actually could look like vintage Canelo. It can happen. So I don't know if we just want to go by the current fights, because none of these fights have had. Think about it. All these fights, they didn't really have like for Canelo in his mind, compared to the things he's already done in the past. There wasn't that umph there. Bivol is cool. I could go up, get the whatever, yeah. But it's Bivol. People don't really know him like that. Casuals don't really. John Ryder, this is more like a homecoming. Like people don't really know. Like Benavidez, I'm fighting Caleb Plant. We might get a different Canelo. Same thing with Teofimo Lopez. Imagine Charlo beats Canelo after 2 years of inactivity and being a lower level fighter than his brother anyways. That would be crazy. But you would have to give him props, because you can't even say this would be all the props in the world to Charlo. This is almost like a lose-lose for Canelo. This is all the props in the world for Charlo, lose-lose for Canelo. If Canelo wins, it'll be like, yeah, he beat a 2-year retired fighter that hasn't fought in so long or whatever. But if Charlo wins, it's like, how the heck he won? He was 2 years. Like Canelo has 5 more fights than him in the last 2 years. And he somehow beat Canelo that could fight people at light heavy. So it's not even a weight thing. It's not nothing. None of that. The burden is on Canelo to win. So if Charlo somehow pulls the win, I would be shocked. I would legitimately be shocked if Charlo pulls out that win. Canelo slow, flat-footed, and tires quickly. Canelo has always been slow on his feet. Always been slow on his feet. Canelo has never had spring in his feet. He's always been cement feet Canelo. I've always said that. Good reaction, good reflexes, good head movement, good offense, tricky offense. Good on the inside with moving his head and all that, but he's always been slow. I mean, look at the Mayweather fight. He was super young there, and he couldn't even catch up to Floyd. He was throwing punches 10 years after Floyd had already ducked the punch, and he was still committing to the punch. So he's always been like that. This is not nothing new, but he can still win with the way he is because he's good at how he does it. He's really good at how he does it. And there's only a few people in the world that could circumvent the way he fights. Because he gets in close. The reason his feet is slow or whatever is because that's not even part of his style. His style is to get in close, use some head movement to get just be just on the edge of danger to be able to counter you with powerful shots. That's Canelo's style. So he's never used his feet to move out of the way. He's always been that come forward fighter that'll slip your punches close and then make you pay. Canelo's going to duck Benavidez and Morrell's going to stop Benavidez. What? I don't think Morrell's going to fight Benavidez. That fight is not even happening. If anything, Benavidez is probably going to fight Jaime Munguia, which is what his team is looking towards to do. And so the Morrell fight ain't even gonna happen. Canelo gonna duck Benavidez. Explain to me how Canelo will duck Benavidez with a 3-fight PBC deal. Tell me the 3 fights. If he's gonna duck Benavidez, he has to fight 3 fights. He can't break contract. He's getting $100 million, and that ain't up front. He has to complete. He's getting a portion of it for every fight. So tell me what fight. Tell me the 3 fights he has in the PBC, and that isn't Benavidez. Go. If he's going to duck him, tell me the 3 fights. That's not Benavidez. Go. I'll read the comments. I'll catch up. Chris said, I disagree with people saying Canelo's fading away. I do think his gas tank is fading, but not his power or skill. I believe he beats both Charlo and Benavidez. He will fight Benavidez 2 times in this in this deal. I think he will only fight Benavidez twice if he loses to Benavidez. I think if he beats Benavidez, there isn't going to be a need for a rematch, right? Because he's Canelo, right? He's the A side, and I think that we don't know the full stipulations of the contract, but I think there's something in there for him to have a rematch clause, and not so much for Benavidez, unless Showtime, like they muscled in. You know what I'm saying? They muscled in a rematch clause for Benavidez. That's possible, but you got to tread lightly when you're signing Canelo Alvarez, because he is somewhat he's at the top echelon when it comes to the financial elements of boxing. If you could secure a Canelo contract, you're doing really good for yourself. It's hard for me to see that they would have put that in there and that he would want to agree to it unless they spiced it up with other things. I could be wrong. They could have muscled it in there, right? $100 million is still a lot of money, and if he cared about that money that much, he could have said, you know what, I'll do it, and I'll beat him in the rematch. So let's see. It could be a rematch clause in there for Benavidez. I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm just saying that we would have to see, because Canelo's kind of the A side, and he might say, otherwise. Like, no rematch clause for him, but rematch clause for me if you want me to sign this 3-fight deal. By the time Canelo is done with these 3 fights, he will retire with 2 more losses, and 1 win. So 2 more losses meaning what? Is he fighting Benavidez or not? So are you double speaking? Are you saying he's not going to fight Benavidez, but then he'll fight Benavidez and lose? Or are you just saying that he's going to just lose to like regular dudes in the PBC that's not Benavidez? Like he's going to lose to a Charlo or a Boo Boo Andre? Yeah, it was the Khabib fight. Yeah, okay. I'm catching up, guys. Hold on one second. I'm gonna catch up. I gotta skip a little bit. Over here. Hold on. Let's see. I gotta skip down a little bit. I say YouTube Boxing 6007. Floyd could receive a text from his team that a punch is on the way from Canelo, and he still be able to dodge. Canelo will be the one texting him the punch is coming. And he's still gonna be able to dodge it, man. Cause it's like you can see it from a mile away sometimes. But the thing with Canelo is that he's so powerful in his punches, he's so aggressive that he can still do work, right? Even if you see the punch coming. Like when he was punching the arms and he was breaking the arms. You see it come, you blocking it, but he's still doing damage. So the thing with Canelo is that he has a unique kind of a style. It's not like it's not a Mexican style per se. It is aggressive, but there is tactics to it. It's a little bit, it's hard to explain. It's not like cut and dry Mexican style. It's a modified version of the Mexican style that has some slickness in there with his upper body movement. He has really good upper body movement. Very, very good. Elite upper body movement. Unfortunately, legs, not elite. Not elite when it comes to the legs. How does Zoo versus Charlo go to you? I see a lot of people picking Zoo for some reason, even though all his stuff look telegraphed. He wings wide and he's flat-footed. I got Charlo in 6. That'll be an interesting one. I think Charlo would win that one. Yeah, I do believe that Charlo will win that one. People just have him. There's just fanfare, right? People like people, and they want people to win, right? People think Jamal Charlo is going to beat Canelo Alvarez because they just like the PBC or they like Jamal Charlo, even though it doesn't make any sense at all. Right? He hasn't fought anybody crazy other than Sergey Derevyanchenko, and he's been inactive for 2 years while Canelo has been fighting. But to people, it's like, oh, he's going to lose to Charlo. It's like, but how? How? How is that even possible? Like, what are you seeing? Just explain what you see, and then we'll have a conversation. But people are just saying that because people pick people that they like because they like them. Not because of any other reason, not because of an actual specific tactical reason of why somebody would win a fight. Virgil would hurt Spence badly, so would Mano Ramos. Spence better stay right where he is at and fight blown up 135, 140 pounders once every 2 years. He said blown up 135, 140. I think that Spence will. I mean, if Spence was to lose to Terrence Crawford, or even if he was to win, there would be nothing else for him to do, right? Maybe the rematch, obviously, with Bud Crawford. But then after that, if he loses, right, then what else? To spice up what he's doing, like he's going to stay at 147 and do what? Collect the belts all over again? And no, I think he'll move up. I think he will move up. I could see it happening. Canelo does what he wants, y'all. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Circle, Canelo may not duck Benavidez. I think Canelo beats him. I think Benavidez is there to be hit, and Canelo will catch him. Okay, so at first you say he was going to duck him, but now you're saying he's not going to duck him. But you also are predicting for Canelo to beat Benavidez. So you think Canelo will beat Benavidez but lose to Jamal Charlo. Am I hearing this correct? You think Jamal Charlo, the inactive fighter that hasn't fought in 2 years, that has only one notable win really, which was Sergey Derevyanchenko, you think that Jamal Charlo, where Canelo has been fighting consistently every year, has 6 fights to his 1 in the last 2 years, you think that he would beat Canelo, but Benavidez, who just beat Caleb Plant, he would lose to Canelo. Is that how I'm seeing? Is that I'm trying to put together like what you're saying? Is that what you see inside the square circle with Ken Judah? Is that what you see? Just let me know. Canelo's still pound for pound number 1. I wouldn't put Canelo at pound for pound number 1. He lost to Bivol. You can't put him at pound for pound number 1 after he lost to Bivol. Do you take him off the list? No. Do you put him number 1? Nah. Because we already seen that Bivol could beat him. Big W for Canelo. Can't wait for these fights. Yeah, 100%. AP, whatever was going on, brother. 100% big W for Canelo. I'm so proud of him for doing this. Because I'm unbiased when it comes to talking about these boxers. The only bias that I have, and I always tell you guys, is that my favorite fighter is Shakur Stevenson. But I still pull myself away from that bias and do analysis when it comes to his fights with other people and how that's going to work. But with Canelo, I was harping on him because it looked like he wanted everybody but Benavidez. But him signing this 3-fight deal with PBC was just beautiful because it just showed, he wants it. He wants that fight. He wants that fight because there's no way you sign a 3-fight deal with the PBC and you don't want to fight Benavidez. There's no way. Canelo is pound for pound number 1 because I truly believe there's like 5 more capable boxers in the world at least. Canelo is pound for pound number 1 because I truly believe there's like 5 more. I can't say. There you go. Okay. Yeah. I agree with Yendez right there. I agree with Yendez. Let's see. K. Judah. Yeah. Charlo beats Canelo, but Canelo beat Benavidez. David has no defense. Wow. You guys are hearing this? My man thinks that, look, this is crazy. This is how crazy some people be thinking. You could tell it's just fanfare. Like you could tell it's just fandom. It has nothing based off of anything in terms of, it's just fandom. He thinks that Charlo will beat Canelo, which by the way, that fight might be next, right? That fight might be next. He thinks that Charlo, and we're not talking about Jermell Charlo. We're talking about Jamal Charlo. My man inside the square circle with King Judah thinks Jamal, the dude that has been sleeping for 2 years, that has no notable wins, his brother out here becoming undisputed, meanwhile he has no notable wins, has not fought in 2 years, so he hasn't, even if he was fighting, he hasn't done anything that will prove that Canelo has beaten the likes of a Caleb Plant, of a Billy Joe Saunders, right? He's gone to war with Gennady Golovkin when Gennady was in his prime, knocked out Kovalev, past his prime, but still knocked him out. We talking about a Canelo that's active is going to lose to a Charlo that's not the better of the brother, that's not coming out here trying to be undisputed, that's just skating by, that hasn't fought in 2 years. He'll lose to him, but he would beat Benavidez. This is when fandom just goes off the rails. This is when fandom goes off the rails. It's just fandom now. When people pick stuff, it's just fandom. It's just fandom. It's just fandom. That's all it is. It's fandom. That's it. That's how people make predictions. You think they're predicting because they're looking at, see the way he moves and you see how he got in. But no, it's just fandom. That's it. Just fandom. Nobody actually breaks it down and figure it out. It's just fandom. Love you, my boy. Been busy. Always looking forward to your streams, though. Thank you, man. Thank you. This one's a crazy one because we talking about Canelo Alvarez 3-fight deal with the PBC, man. I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped. Same. It did look like he was shying away, but deep down we know he was gonna fight Benavidez. There's no way. I mean, hey, it almost looked like it was a way. It was like Bivol, Barujai, Charlo. But nah, it looks like he's going to fight Benavidez. He is going to fight Benavidez. How do you see the Fulton versus Inoue fight going? If this has been asked. I think it's going to be a good fight. But I do think that Inoue will pull out the win. I do think that Inoue will pull out the win versus Fulton. Fulton brings a lot of volume, but I think that will work against Fulton in this fight because of how accurate Inoue is. So I think this is going to be a spectacular fight. It's going to be a spectacular fight, but I do think that when it's all said and done, Inoue will pull out the victory. Charlo is unproven at 168. Yep. Fulton versus Inoue is my most anticipated fight of the year, followed by Spence. Really? Okay. Followed by Spence versus Crawford, then Montana Love versus Richardson Hitchens. Okay. I got Spence versus Crawford. I mean, I've been waiting for that fight for so long, so I got that over everything else. But I mean, I could see how you could be super excited for Fulton versus Inoue. Like that's like the second fight. Well, actually, it's Spence versus Crawford, then Canelo versus Benavidez, then Fulton versus Inoue. But in terms of fight that have been made, it's Spence versus Crawford, then Fulton versus Inoue, which are happening like right next to each other, which is insane. Although for Inoue, we got to wake up at like here in the East Coast, we got to wake up mad early. Inside the square circle, I thought you left, bro. Like after you said that, I thought you turned off your computer because it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't think you was going to continue saying this, but let's see. I've only got one prediction wrong this year. I told you Tank was beating Ryan and Devin was beating Loma and Charlo would beat Canelo. Okay, but Tank beating Ryan, plausible. Remember, when we talked about Tank versus Ryan, we called that a 50-50 fight where there's things that maybe Ryan could do, there's things that Tank could do, but let's see what happens. Tank proved that he's the real deal when it comes to this fight. But that was like a fight where it could have gone either way before the fight happened, but then Tank showed that he was a few levels above Ryan. But that was a fight that you couldn't, it was close to a pick'em before it happened. Devin versus Loma, same thing, a 50-50 fight. Charlo versus Canelo is not a 50-50 fight. It's just not a 50-50 fight. It's not even close to a 50-50 fight. If you predicting within a 50-50 fight, you could be right because anybody, it's almost a coin flip and you're looking at minute details to see if somebody will be able to beat somebody else. But Charlo versus Canelo is not a 50-50 fight. It's not. This is a different story. This is a completely different story. in comparison to Devin versus Loma and Tank versus Ryan. It ain't the same thing. This is an easy one to call. Loma won 3, 10, and 11. That's it. He lost unanimously. You're bugging. That was a close fight. That was a close fight, in my opinion. It all depends on what you want to see, right? If you care more about less punches landed, but more heavy impact body punches, then you will lean to Devin Haney. If you care about more activity in terms of more punches landed, and you care about headshots and combinations, then you'll go with Lomachenko. Every round could have gone either way. Every round was very flip-floppy except 10 and 11. 10 and 11 were the only 2 rounds where it was complete separation, and that was Loma winning those rounds. But all the other rounds, to me, could have gone either way. Like, there weren't any rounds that were, like, legitimately Devin Haney's. But if you give him a majority of those rounds that could go either way, then you could pull out a win for Devin Haney. That, to me, when people were saying it was a robbery, I was saying, no, that isn't a robbery, because that fight could go either way. That fight could go either way. But the same way you can't say it's a robbery is the same way you could flip it upside down and say it also wasn't complete domination. Because, bro, no, it wasn't complete domination. Complete domination is like Shakur versus Jamel Herring. That's complete domination. Devin Haney versus Kambosos. That's complete domination. This fight was not complete domination. It wasn't complete domination. That's just my opinion. But I'm sure that a lot of people also feel that way. But to me, I don't think that this was complete domination by Devin Haney. I think it was a close fight. He could have lost. He could have won. And the scorecards reflected that. Inoue will beat Fulton. Yes, I have that. I think Inoue versus Fulton has fight of the year potential. It does. It does. Loma washed Devin and got robbed, bro. Hey, listen, like I said, I don't call it a robbery, but I also don't call it a domination. I call it a close fight that could have gone either way. I believe Fulton is going to show truly how great he is when he fights Inoue, but Inoue will show why he's the greatest Japanese fighter of all time. Yeah. He is 100%. He's already the greatest Japanese fighter of all time, even now. But beating Fulton would just put him at a crazy spot. Let's see. Laugh get him, Fanatico. He really is bugging, thinking Charlo gonna beat Canelo. Yeah, man. Hey. When you put fandom first, man, it's just, I don't know, man. That's why when I judge who's gonna win, I don't do it based off of fandom. I don't do it based off of who I like, who I don't like. I just do it off of analysis. That's it. Power punches count for more points. Devin landed more. Nope, that's incorrect. Power punches don't count for more points. And if you want to say who looked more hurt at any given point, Lomachenko never looked hurt in the entire fight. Devin Haney looked hurt in round 11. He looked like he was being hit from pillar to post, right? So the criteria for boxing scoring, there is not who's doing the more power punches. Who hit more power punches? No, it's ring generalship, is defense, is effective aggression, is all those different things. And it's so subjective. You could look at what Devin Haney, you could look at what Lomachenko was doing and saying it was effective aggression because he was the one pushing forward more. He was the one that was landing more combinations, throwing more combinations, but also landing, getting headshots. So you could say, oh, he was more effectively aggressive, right? The whole criteria system is subjective by nature, but it is not based off of one thing. Like, oh, whoever is the more power punches, then if it was like that, Kovalev would have beat Andre Ward when they fought. But it ain't just about that. It's so many other parts to scoring a fight. But even with those the basis of the criteria with ring generalship and all this stuff, it's still subjective within that. You can see Devin Haney's work to the body as being more of a ring general and more aggressive than Lomachenko's combinations to the head. It's subjective even within that. But to just put it as one thing, power punches count for more than points in the depth, that's not how boxing works, bro. That's not how boxing works. Anyways, we are past by 8 minutes. Why does Inside the Square Circle with King Judah always like to come in here right when I'm about to end my stream? It's like we got this back and forth, man, but come early, bro. Stop coming when the stream ended. My man like to come when the stream about to end. Oh, man. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and end the stream here. Kudos to Canelo Alvarez for doing this 3-fight deal with the PBC. He basically made the Benavidez fight inevitable, but according to Inside the Square Circle with King Judah, that fight might not ever happen because he's going to lose to Jamal Charlo in September. So we're going to have to wait and see what he does. If he can overcome the all-powerful Jamal Charlo, the super knockout artist, the guy that can't be beat, the unbeatable Jamal Charlo in September. If he could do that, if he can miraculously pull off a win against Jamal Charlo, then we'll be able to see him with Benavidez, hopefully, who should be very easy to beat. That's the easy fight that he's gonna have. All right, until the next one, guys. I love it. Peace out, and we'll see you on Monday. Peace out, guys. Thank you so much.